Drivin Ivan here, and behind me, a legend. The first all-wheel drive turbo Audi. They just changed the rules in World Rally, and Audi capitalized on that, building this UR Quattro behind me. Now, I also happen to have another legend, a Lancia Delta Integrale. So, I'm going to drive this UR Quattro. I'm going to tell you how I think it is, and I'm going to compare and contrast it with my Lancia Delta Integrale too. Plus, this one hides some secrets. Will I be impressed? Let's find out. So what we have here is not an entirely original UR Quattro. The wheels, the hood, and many other little details on the car are not stock. Look at those cool fender flares though, and just its general presence. It's definitely an icon. And yeah, the side angle, it's kind of a long car for a coupe, but just an icon, totally recognizable for what it is, and definitely a looker. It'll fool you from this angle because a lot of people think it's a hatchback, but it actually isn't. But this is a very cool view, maybe reminiscent of other cars from the day like a Scirocco, but the back lights here are not stock, neither is the exhaust. It's stainless steel, but just an icon from this angle too, I think. Well, you can see the fender flares from this angle, and apparently Porsche copied those flares for their 944. Interesting. So there you go, a legendary car, great shape, maybe even some Volkswagen Dasher in there, but with fender flares, it reeks of Group B rally car coolness. It's just a total early 80s icon. Now let's see what it looks like inside. Well, definitely an interior of the day. Early 80s, all that leather and trim. Looks a bit dated, but just very sporty and super, super cool. Very cool Audi steering wheel. That is stock. Some of the stuff like this is not stock, but more gauges is always a good thing. But this is also not active anymore, but I'll explain all that later. Just a cool 80s vibe here. Yes, stock leather seats, even a sunroof, and all of that goodness. There's a clue right there. Look, 6-speed manual. Kind of interesting, right? But all that 80s greatness and adjustability. Still 4 seats, and not a hatchback like I said, but still a very functional, and for this time, a very luxurious interior as well for 1983. Checking out the trunk. Pretty spacious for back in the day. It's got a lot of car cleaning stuff back here, but you could certainly use this car. Take it on a trip. Back in the day, this was a decent sized trunk, certainly. And yeah, Quattro and Audi Sport too. And even a built-in spoiler too. This is the secret surprise. This is an RS2 engine actually. The original would have had about 200 horsepower, maybe 170 in America, but this one has twice the horsepower, 400. It's an RS2 engine. I'll get into more of that later. But yeah, the owner says that this is the car that Audi would have built if they could have. So let me show you what it's like to drive this car. I'm in second gear, and well, I mean, the boost is pretty much instantaneous. This is not a stock 10-valve Audi UR Quattro. This is a different beast altogether. With the 95 engine and the 6-speed manual transmission from an S8, it's got twice the horsepower that this car initially came with. So, yes, it has sort of the same sensation as the Lancia Delta Integrale when the turbo kicks in. But at the same time, it's entirely different. A lot more responsive. this is very fast, probably more on par with a later Evo. But the shape of this car and the history of this car, driving a legend, the Pikes Peak champion, the crazy killer bees in the rally. These were the cars that were so fast that people were getting killed, and they had to slow things down a bit, and that's what they did. But they did start to allow the all-wheel drive in 1979, so this is why the UR Quattro was built. UR being a designation for first, or premier in German. This was the first all-wheel drive with a big Q Quattro. Later on, they were designated with a small Q, so that's what UR is all about. And so the owner, who's sitting right next to me, say hi, Phil.
Hello.
I reviewed his 2002 Alpina. Also, I love Alpinas. I have an Alpina B7, but he has a 2002 Alpina that I've reviewed elsewhere, and he basically made this car to be everything it could have or should have been. It's got bigger brakes, it's got a better transmission and engine, and the suspension's been lowered a bit, and man, oh my, I mean, it is fast. Usually, this speed is felt in, you know, like my Maserati Spyder, 0 to 60 in about the 4s. That's probably where we are here. It's an insane amount of speed for what looks like a UR Quattro on the outside, but what handles like some super rally beast on the inside. And all-wheel drive with all that grip, absolutely amazing. The clutch and the brakes, well, they're noisier.
Well, they're racing pads, so they're cold.
Yeah, they're cold racing pads, and you know, they're going to make a little bit more noise and be a bit more responsive. But we're going to hit some bends here, come around, and just feel that all-wheel drive grip. Man, this is amazing. So you've got the old gauges here, and this car is really quite an experience. You've got the oil pressure gauge, oil temperature gauge, and then this gauge here tells you the exhaust temperature, so you can check out how the turbo is performing. So it really is kind of a timepiece in a sense, and there's just a little, the slightest little bit of movement you can get before the wheel does something. So that's a little different than a modern car. You can tell you're in a 1983 UR Quattro, and that's what's cool. But again, it's just like you're in a time machine in a sense. The perfect rally resto mod, because when you mash the throttle at 2,000 or above 2,000 RPMs, and you hear the wastegate just throwing off there, oh my god, it's so fast. There's no UR Quattro that's this fast. So it's an experience unlike anything really. Again, it's, you get that faster than it should be feeling from the Lancia Delta Integrale that I have, even the 8-valve. But this one is just different altogether. You know, it's more racy feeling clutch as well. And wow, it's kind of a contrast. It's an interesting contrast, in fact, because, you know, like, again, the steering wheel, the way it feels, you can tell it's not a modern steering wheel, and there's a little play in it, but at the same time, the performance levels are so great that, you know, you're on the level of what feels like a much more modern car than it is. Here we go. Check out the gear shifter here. So 6-speed. The clutch is, it's a racing clutch, you know. You a little loose and Frankenstein sort of put together in a sense, but pretty short throws. And again, I can't tell you how fast this car is. It is awful quick. And wow, how come you've been holding out on me so long, Phil? I've been bugging him to test this car for ages. You know, having the Lancia Delta Integrale, and I have an Audi TT Quattro, which I have a good video. Check out my review of that. I drive it in the snow, and there's also a separate video of me driving the Audi TT in the snow. But, you know, like Lancia, Audi is an early innovator with all-wheel drive, so I love the rally history. And this car, to me, is definitely a bucket list car. And now, having experienced it, wow.
I'm setting you up for the 930 roof.
So yeah, he has a Porsche 911 Turbo, the Widowmaker, with roof parts that he bought originally in Germany that I've been bugging him to review as well, so hopefully we'll get to that one soon. But this one, meeting an icon in this case, you know, comparing it to my Lancia Delta Integrale, it's the same feeling when that turbo kicks in, because it's an older car that when you've driven cars from the late 80s or from the 80s or from the late 70s, you know they're not supposed to be this quick. None of them felt this quick. This is a race car. This is this is properly fast. And what he's done here, Phil, great job. He's taken just an icon and made it even better. Yes, the way perhaps Audi would have liked to have built it had they had this 95 technology with the S8 transmission and everything. It is truly an amazing car, definitely an icon. I'm totally impressed, and man, what a blast from the past. So, after meeting this icon and driving it on these great roads, wow. You know, 200 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 7 seconds back then was quick, certainly quick, but it wasn't crazy racing fast. And this car is crazy racing fast. You can picture yourself on a rally stage and just whizzing through the mountains with your navigator next to you. Easy right, easy left, controlling everything for you, and it has that feeling. This is a race car, and it's been properly upgraded with tasteful mods, lowered suspension, exhaust, you name it, it's on here. The hood, the wheels, and most importantly, of course, the engine and transmission. This is amazing to drive. A race car with vintage looks. It's a historic icon. It's a performance icon. It's really everything put together. It's a rally resto mod is what it is. It's amazing. And there you have it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to both my channels here on YouTube for content. And also, just Google Drivin Ivan and your favorite car and smash that like button. Comment, subscribe, share. And again, thanks for watching. I'm Drivin Ivan.